Welcome to the Mayhem. Dick and Lloyd Mayhem. Media Mayhem. Marketing a Mayhem. You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.
Hey, welcome into the show. This time we've got three exciting personalities from the Kansas City area to talk to. We're going to kick things off with Randy Wisthoff, director of the Kansas City Zoo, in just... why do we have a 1960s phone hooked up in the studio? Let me get this. Hello?
Hey, Champ, Buzz Martini.
Oh, it's Buzz Martini, the sales guy for our podcast.
Hey, listen, I got a concept that's going to help get us some attention, make you guys some money, and maybe get us out of this corner we painted ourselves into with this stupid podcast.
Uh-oh. What is it?
Okay, here's the deal. You know how Uber's a hot thing, you know about Uber.
Yeah.
And you know these scooters, they're all over the place. I mean, this is the latest deal.
Oh, yeah, those bird things.
So I came up with this idea, Champ. Scoober.
What? Scoober?
That's right, Scoober.
What?
It's going to work, I'm telling you. It's a great idea. You guys...
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Hang out downtown with a couple of these bird scooters outside of that place, totally nude on Grand.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
And you offer to chauffeur people so they can stand on the back behind you guys and still keep eyeing their cell phone while they travel.
Well,
See?
I don't know.
So you guys charge them 30 cents a minute.
30 cents?
So you net 15 a minute on each ride.
You
stay out for 8 hours, that's over 480 minutes, champ. I'm talking about $72 each day.
Oh, jeez.
Now, we can use that money to buy ads on good podcasts. Or we can buy Loy some cigars and get you a book on how to keep them lit. I don't know.
Well, here we are, Loy, out at the zoo.
I love the zoo. This is a lot of fun.
Quite a place out here. And, we're out here about mid-morning or so when we're recording this, and there are people filing in here from all over the place.
Yeah, I saw some interesting folks.
We've got an interesting folk across the table from us here. Randy Wisthoff. Randy, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us here. Now, you've already been in a meeting or two here this morning. I'm sure solving a lot of the problems of the zoo and taking care of business.
Trying to take care of business. Nothing fun. The boss never gets to do anything fun anymore. I used to get to work with animals. Now it's all about the business stuff.
Oh, you never think of that. But Randy, of course, CEO, zoo director, and how long have you been doing that now here?
I've been here almost 15 years. Wow. And I was at the Omaha Zoo for 26 years.
Yeah.
Actually started my career, you couldn't get any lower than when I started in Omaha.
What were you doing?
I drove the garbage truck.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, weekends while I was in school.
You know what?
Yeah.
I can think of a few things at a zoo that are a little bit lower than that.
I did get that job too. I became an animal keeper.
Did you really? Okay.
Part of my trash duties, though, were picking up the daily elephant manure in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
And the zoos were much different then because basically you were kind of in the stalls with the elephants, cleaning, and then taking that used bedding and putting it on a dump truck.
Isn't the official term mucking out the stall? Something like that?
I was a good mucker. Fortunately, I stuck around and kind of stuck with it and just saved the zoo world.
When you were getting that elephant manure, they didn't just throw that away, didn't they sell that to people for putting on plants and yards and that kind of thing?
All the zoos do composting, because you have to be careful what you do with that stuff, but it's great on your tomatoes.
I used some of that, and I kept getting a bunch of peanuts plants.
Did you really? Yeah. Keep popping up around there. Stamp those peanuts out. Gosh, is there somebody here at the zoo doing the job that you started out doing up in Omaha?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people.
So, yeah.
A lot of people. It's a profession. An awful lot of people, my peer group, started at the bottom somewhere and got into it out of I don't know, abject poverty, and then wanted to get beyond that. Then you just stuck with it. It's a profession you just get involved with, and there's so many things happening. It's just being around the animals.
Well, how about you? Before Omaha, which I've been to that place up there.
Yeah.
That's a great zoo, isn't it?
That's quite a deal.
Oh, it's one of the best
Quite
in the
a
world.
reputation.
Yeah, one of the best in the world.
What was it that you said, hey, I want to do this zoo work back then?
I've never been able to trace that back to what triggered it. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, I grew up in north central Iowa, a small town, mm-hmm. and my uncle had a farm, and we were real close. My family and that family were real close, and we went out to the farm about every Sunday.
Yeah.
And they had cows and hogs and chickens. It's back when the farms were small and they grew lots of stuff and mm-hmm. a lot of animals. And I just really loved going out to the farm. And I think that's probably, I was a little city kid, mm-hmm. but mm-hmm. I think that's probably where I got that love of intrigue. And I just ended up, everything is, I think, luck or timing or whatever.
Yeah.
Ended up working part-time in Omaha at the zoo, and that was 1977.
And here you go.
And here I go.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of developments here, of course, at this zoo. Who was the director right before you?
A gentleman by the name of Mark Worms.
Okay.
He was here about 12 years. Prior to him was Ralph Waterhouse.
Okay.
10, 12, 15 years.
And this zoo's been here since the early 1900s.
1909.
Yeah.
Opened as a city zoo. The original building's still here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Tropics building now.
That's the big stone building
that's
still here?
And I guess when the zoo opened out here, everybody wondered, oh my gosh, it's way, way, way out there in the edge of town. Mm-hmm. Nobody will ever go to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could ride the streetcar out.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And, wow, 1909.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me what was the oldest animal that has ever resided in this place? Because you've been around over 100 years.
Some of the elephants, they'll usually live into their 50s. At that time,
some of those
animals,
darn tortoises are around for a while.
Yeah, we do have an Aldabra tortoise that might Chip, I think is his name, mm-hmm. and he may be pushing 100. We can't find his birth certificate.
Okay.
It's probably buried in the cornerstone of the Tropics building.
Oh, probably
We can safely say all the original inhabitants have moved on.
That's right.
Yeah.
From
One of my board members, his little kids are enamored that their dad is on our zoo board.
Yeah.
And he was, they were riding on the Sky Safari after we put it in, and he was, my board member was telling his son about, being part of the zoo and then how the zoo was, I think it was back when we were celebrating the centennial, and his little boy looked up at him and said, "Mr. Wisthoff doesn't look that old." He thought I was only 100.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow, gosh. What are some of the stories you might have of moments when you either questioned your job as the zoo director or thought, how am I going to take care of this? I mean, one that I think of is what, the chimps escaping, or some chimps escaped a few years ago?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. They've been on, they are pretty good escape artists, mm-hmm. and they've been out a couple times. Any time an animal gets out of an enclosure, it's not a good thing. And we do everything we can to prevent that.
Sure.
But, the first time was early on, probably, I started in the fall of 2003, and it probably 04, 05. We had a windstorm, a real windy spring. It was actually the day of a board meeting in April. Mm-hmm. Sitting in our boardroom, conducting business, and I had one of my employees jumping in the window and came in the door and tippy-toed around and whispered in my ear, "The chimps are out." Oh. And it was like, oh my gosh. But one of the beauty of Swope Park is the forest effect here, mm-hmm. and the zoo is in such a beautiful location with all the trees. A tree had blown over up on the golf course side, uphill from the chimp exhibit, mm-hmm. and the big branches of this big oak tree, came across the concrete wall that's out there and provided an exit route. And the chimps just boomity boom, and I think we had 8 of them out.
They took it, yeah.
They took the route out, and we have a lot of procedures and protocols, and we practice this sort of thing. We're practiced for worst case scenario all the time, hoping it never happens. But the chimps got out. They went for a little walk. Chimps are, the good thing about chimps is they're very social and they like to stick together. So we didn't have 8 chimps all of them didn't leave. Some of them said, "No, we'll play it safe. We'll stay here."
The food's good
well,
here.
yeah, we kind of like the accommodations. They do work for peanuts, though. So.
The laughing kookaburras appreciated Randy's joke there.
Sorry,
It's
but they hung together, and it's always after the fact when you go back and review what happened. It's always a ha funny story. But they made their way over. They didn't violate the perimeter fence. They came the right way. They came in towards the zoo instead of going up to the golf course.
Yeah.
I don't know what a chimp would do with a golf club or a golf cart, but we didn't want to learn what that experience would be. But they came into the zoo.
Let you play through.
Yeah, just let them play through. Yeah. They were in a back area the entire time, but we get all the visitors and get them in safe spots, and we have all kinds of protocols. The chimps went down towards this back holding area that our rhinos live in. There's a holding barn, and then farther down is where the giraffes go at night. But the chimps made it down to the rhino barn, and under sort of an eaves soffit there was a vending machine, soda pop for our keeper staff that works out in that area. Well, the chimps were at the vending machine and kept pushing the buttons, and nothing came out.
It's just like at a 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where they're looking at the big black monolith there. So
it was a Coke machine.
It was a Coke machine.
And then they kind of we had the animals circled. So we have a human perimeter, but we get vehicles. So we're not out there just standing because chimps can be very violent. So we made a perimeter with vehicles, and then being calm is the most important thing. And you try to move that perimeter in a bit. And we had somebody that was in the building, in their holding building, and had the hoping that they would come back the same way they got out at some point, because it's an adventure. They're in unknown space, and they are adventurous, but as a group. So the group wasn't moving to get out of the zoo. They were just kind of wandering around, seeing what kind of experience what the keepers experienced.
Sure.
So we tried a number of things, food items. We went to the snack bar and got French fries and we tried anything. Food is a great enticement for all of us.
Yes,
no matter
exactly.
no matter what the species is. You train a dog with food or birds or elephants. So we went and tried some snack bar food, and that wasn't enough of an enticement. So we went up and we found actually what worked was, I think it was Milk Duds that ended up working. Chocolate.
Wow.
Chocolate. The great equalizer. We had chocolate, and somebody was standing. After they went back, they got on the wall, helicopters flying over from the news station, and we had to back them off because they were spooking them. But they got back in their enclosure, and to get them back in so we could address the tree issue, we had some of our staff that were throwing candy bars and Milk Duds out into the area where the chimps normally are, and then they loved it, absolutely loved chocolate. They don't get it, so they loved it. And they started moving in, and they got to a point where we could lock them in.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. And
They got well trained, because the last time I went to the chimp house, I saw the chimps throwing some chocolate back at
I'll bet you did, yes.
Lloyd, that wasn't chocolate.
A little different.
That's right, yeah.
Gosh. Wow. What's new about the zoo here that you're excited about?
Oh, we just opened a touch tank, a great experience. There's a lot of zoos that have touch tank experiences. We've got stingrays in it.
Heard about that.
Stingrays and some sharks. These aren't man-eating sharks. They're not even finger-eating sharks, but little kids love to think they're sticking their hands in a tank that's filled with sharks.
I did the stingray thing once down at Grand Cayman Island, I think. Have you ever done something like that, where they take the boat out and they throw a bunch of bait out there and these things come up?
I did that same experience.
And I never dog paddled quite so hard to try to keep from stepping on them. I was scared to death.
Yeah, well, they're scary looking things.
Yeah. It's an experience. We've got these little cow nose rays And we got 24 of those, and we've got 4 southern rays. They're probably the size, if you laid about 3 dinner plates together to give an idea of what size these are. They're not overly big.
Yeah.
Got them from an animal specialist in Marathon Key, Florida.
Okay.
And brought them up here. The sharks we acquired from some other zoos and aquariums. Put them in a tank. The tank's about 22,000 gallons of salt water. And we have to make, you think, where do you get 22,000 gallons of salt water? They don't have it on the stores shelf at a grocery store.
Yeah.
You have to make it. So you start with city water, and we get boxes of a product that's called, we refer to it as Instant Ocean. It's a 40-pound box. It weighs it costs $16 a box, and you use 1 box for every 150 gallons of water. And we mix it up, and it has to set and cure, and then that's what it has to be perfect.
Oh,
you can't just run tap water and especially throw an animal that's lived in the ocean.
Yeah.
Because you figure that's their air supply.
Sure.
Now, freshwater fish were made to live in lakes and ponds and streams, so you can use tap water. You just take the chlorine out of it, and you're good to go. But ocean water you have to make. So we make ocean water. We keep it in a temperature range. Ocean fish can't vary too much in the temperatures they'll tolerate. So we've got coolers and heaters on the water that we can keep it probably about 75 to 80 degrees. So in the summertime now, with the heat we've had in Kansas City, we cool it down a little bit. Filter it through 3 different kinds of filtration, and then we've got a unit that it goes through, and it'll warm it up or cool it down so it's prime for the animals. But people can go into this building, and a little bitty wall that you reach over, and you can buy food. You can buy a little fish to feed it, or just stick your hand in there, and the rays all think you have food, so they come up and they let you touch them.
I'll be darned.
And they're small, and it's more controlled than jumping in the water.
If I remember, they're different. On the bottom, they feel one way, and the top, they feel another way, don't they?
Yes, they do. They're a little more scaly on the top and pretty soft on the bottom.
I'll be darned.
But I'm also happy to tell you that I guess I'm happy. We've only had 3 kids that have fallen in the pool.
Okay.
They've gotten so excited that they lean over so far, boom, they're in the pool.
I'll bet you, just to see the eyes of those kids when they're standing up in the water.
Yeah. I told you it was an experience.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a true experience.
Now, you can't just run over to the grocery store and buy food for these animals. Where does it all come from?
That is a major job. Our grocery bill here at the zoo is about $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
We're feeding about 1,800 animals, and they all have very specific diets. Some of the stuff we can go to the grocery store, or we get it from vendors that supply grocery stores. We feed a lot of fruits and vegetables, and it's the same thing you'd go buy and take home and eat. We don't have a lot of growers like California or Florida, where you could go out and find a farmer that was growing lettuce year round. And we have to have that food source every day of every year.
Sure.
So if they eat carrots and tomatoes and lettuce and broccoli, then that's what they have to have 365. We've really monitored the nutrition. All health issues are related to nutrition. Our biggest challenge, one of our biggest expense items, is the fish that we have to buy to feed to our stingrays. Our penguins only eat seafood. Our sea lions only eat seafood. And our polar bears, seafood is a major part of their diet. And most of these animals won't eat. The nutrition isn't right with freshwater fish, so we can't go out and catch bass and carp and catfish and feed it. It's got to come from the ocean. So we have to order it a year in advance, and I think we went through 20 tons of fish last year.
Wow.
That almost all of it hauled in here from Florida.
Yipes.
That
is something. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big part of what we do.
What about the larger predators? What is like the biggest thing that you have to buy that's a living creature to feed to other ones?
We don't buy any living creatures.
Recently deceased.
We don't do that either. We feed our carnivores get a beef, ground beef mixture that comes from packing houses that supply zoos. and circuses, anybody that has animals like this. It's good meat, yeah. It's inspected. Most humans wouldn't eat it, but it's good, clean. Because again, these animals are, they can't take care of themselves. We can't go out and get another one. So the nutrition and health and all those sorts of things, we want to make sure we're feeding them good stuff, and it's consistent. It has the same fat content. We watch their weights really close. If they get a little too chunky, we put them on a little diet. If they get we think they need to gain a few pounds, we up their calories. And
maybe we could stop by on that diet thing and get some tips. You think?
Dick, I can't imagine all that work that goes into keeping them. I mean, I can't keep a houseplant alive. It's just like, oh man,
a little more challenge.
I forgot to feed the.
Yeah.
So how do people get involved with the zoo to help out, either support, money-wise, or just person-wise?
One of the nicest things that anybody can do is buy a membership to the zoo. That kind of gives us that support. The money goes to operation, and then we kind of get you on our mailing list, and you learn about the zoo. We have volunteer opportunities, a lot of it with docents and with teenagers and anybody in between. I have a lot of areas to but the most important thing is just coming out and using the zoo. Come out and see the animals. It's great setting, good family time or couples time, or just come and walk around by yourself. It's not a lot of distractions other than just seeing animals. Pretty quiet out here in Swope Park.
How's the new polar bear working out with the other one?
She's doing great. There's Bam Bam and Berlin, and polar bears, they don't live together. They live solitary lives. So I would say our two girls, one of them's 30 and one's 28, they tolerate each other. But they'll probably never become buddy and sleep together. Yeah. They've always got one eye on what the other one's doing.
Sure.
It's all about survival in polar bear world, and the biggest and the one that can be the most daunting is going to get to the blowhole where the seal pokes its head out first. Yeah. There's an alpha and beta, and right now Bam Bam and Berlin are figuring out they're both they want to do a dual alpha.
Okay.
But they're doing okay. They just give each other their
it's kind of like Loy and I.
Yeah, I like to be a
alpha males.
Yeah.
They're just so catty.
About a year ago, I was hanging out at the Amsterdam Zoo, and I'm walking around, and there's Randy Wisthoff. And no, actually, we both took groups on a Rhine River cruise, and that Amsterdam Zoo was quite a place.
It really is. That was part of the when we lined up going on the Rhine River. Yeah. It was what could we do that tied it to kind of what we do. So we lined up some tours of some zoos along the Rhine. Went to the Amsterdam Zoo, and then I don't think you joined us at the Basel, Switzerland Zoo. That was the terminus of the trip.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went up to Lake Lucerne and stayed a couple days and took the train up to Zurich to see the zoo there. And the Kansas City Zoo is involved internationally, so I knew the directors of all of those zoos and lined up that we got a little special tour or introduction. And it's just fun to go see a zoo anywhere. They're all different. We all have different animals or different conservation projects we're working on, but it really is a global community. We work very closely, both nationally and internationally, on animal conservation and programs. And there's things that as the Europeans are doing that are great things in the zoo world. So it's always fun to kind of stop by if we're in the neighborhood. Yeah. But we had that big group, Dick. I think we had 50 or 60 people from the Kansas City area that went to the Amsterdam Zoo that day, which was kind of out of the norm on one of those riverboat trips. They usually don't go visit zoo, and I think everybody kind of had a ball.
Had a good time.
It was fun.
It
was just
fun.
Sure
was, yeah. You do an awful lot of traveling. You got some other trips straight ahead, going to Africa and things like that. And, we focus on a couple areas in the world, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We do. We have, one of the special things we do is we have a little quiz about Germany or Florida, because that's where all the weird crime on planet Earth happens, in one of those two places. And so whenever we have a guest who's really worldly, we like to engage them in this game that we play called Germany or Florida.
All right.
Germany or Florida, Germany or Florida, Germany or Florida. Things are so effed up there.
I'm game.
All right, you are game. Here we go. And this one has a zoo theme. So
Oh, good.
I'll tell you the story. You tell me, did this happen in Germany or Florida?
Okay.
All right. A 19-year-old was arrested, and he faces 2 counts of burglary and grand theft. He's the second man in this ordeal charged in connection to the animal thefts that occurred over the past couple of weeks there. They said that they found 3 box turtles, 2 red-foot tortoises, a skink, and a squirrel monkey were found inside his apartment. 4 more animals, 2 gopher tortoises, and 2 box turtles are still missing. All right, Randy Wisthoff, world traveler, did this happen in Germany or Florida?
Well, that could have happened either. I'm going to guess Florida.
Lloyd, tell him if anything but he's won.
A new car! Come on down.
But that looks like a Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
Matchbox. Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
are
sure.
crazy people in the
There
world.
are crazy
There
around.
are crazy people.
And I
They're
think
all there. I don't
the
know.
3 of us may be among them. I'm not sure. But yeah. Randy, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. Good seeing you guys again. And
Really
talking
enjoyed
to
it,
you.
Randy.
come out to the wildest place in town anytime.
All right, our multi-talented personality show continues next with Rich Linden, who makes his career hollering things out in arenas. Hang on. All right, let me get this. Yo, hello.
Good day, Richard. It's Reginald.
Oh, it's Reginald Troutbreath III. How are things out in Beverly Hills?
Well, things are going swimmingly, Richard, thank you, except I am a little bit upset. Actually, I'm mortified by the gentleman who is inhabiting the White House right now.
You mean President Trump?
Yes, that one.
What seems to be the problem?
He failed to curtsy before Her Majesty the Queen.
Whoa, wait a minute here.
Anyway, I'm a stickler for protocol. And
Now stop right there.
What?
A feller doesn't have to curtsy before the Queen.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Not supposed to curtsy before the Queen?
I'm sorry, but yes, that's correct.
Richard, I have to go.
What do you mean?
I fear I've made a grievous error. I've got to take down some photographs on Facebook from the last event at the Dixie Belle. Toodaloo.
All right, Reginald, good luck with that. Hey, let's mosey on down to Diebel's Cigar Club and see who's standing by.
Well, Dick, we talk about media and marketing, and I met this guy a while back.
Which bar was that?
place. Right here in our
All right.
cigar lounge.
Okay.
He really is in a kind of a different space, but he's in both of those worlds. He's a big personality. He's a big guy. In fact, he could be a WWF guy. He'd be one of the good guys, I think, because he's got the hair for it, really. And his name is Rich Linden, and he works in arenas a lot.
Yeah.
As a master ceremony,
Okay.
a PA guy. He's got that, well, you'll see, he's got that voice, Dick. You know how
That
people
boomer?
always tell you, Dick, if you just had a voice, you could really do something in radio.
Sure.
Well, this guy has the pipes.
Okay.
He's a great guy. Rich Linden.
Hey, Rich, welcome.
How you gentlemen doing today?
Come on up in the big chair there. There you go.
I like it. It's
Yeah.
cushy.
Yeah.
You like it here at the Cigar Lounge,
Dude,
don't
it's
you?
very manly.
I know. Manly .5.
Rich, what is it that you do? When
very
people
good
ask
question.
you, what do you tell them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Depends on who I'm talking to.
Okay.
I'm at a strip club. It's a different answer.
Yeah.
But primarily, I sports announce. That's it. Do events, making people happy. Primarily in athletic events, but large foundation galas, big parties.
Do you create the events yourself, kind of? Or?
Sometimes.
Do you? Yeah.
Sometimes I create, and sometimes people just hire me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So sometimes you're just that voice that comes over and says, Goal by Escudero.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
you really don't have to be smart to do that.
I think you do.
You just have to have a voice and pay attention.
Now, how do you pronounce all those names, though?
That's
you
what
do
I
your
wonder,
homework,
yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
Do your homework. Actually, I'm really proud of that. That's one of the things I'm very proud of is we get a lot of foreign players, and to be able to say their name correctly with their dialect, it's fantastic.
Can you give us an example of one? Do you have one on the top of your head that you remember?
Yes, there was a player last week playing for men's volleyball, NCAA men's championship, volleyball championship.
Yeah.
He was Hawaiian. His name was PJ Kaliki Fuhihoho Lu. Kaliki Fuhihoho Lu.
Wow.
Being able to say that over and over.
I hope he wasn't really active in the game.
He was. I had
a
to say
bench
his name.
warmer, I hope.
I had to say his name all the time, but you know that, and I do a lot of volleyball. There's a lot of Brazilians that play volleyball and Portuguese. The Brazilians pronounce their names differently than Spanish-speaking countries. So
Oh, man. Just throwing you a curve there.
Yeah.
So you got the Portuguese dialogue down.
I love it.
Now
Dialect,
you've done some local stuff around Kansas City area too, right?
Love local.
Yeah.
I love Kansas City. This has been my home for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I do voice of UMKC Athletics, Park University Athletics, do stuff down at Union Station, their New Year's Eve crazy party every year.
Love the acoustics there in Union Station.
It's amazing. It's incredible. Yeah, unless you get too many people, and then, forget it. You
Yeah.
can't hear anything.
So I'm guessing you really put on a show, though, sometimes. I mean, you're
Not sometimes.
a showman.
Every time. Yeah.
Because this is a podcast, people can't see how dashingly handsome you are.
It's a good
and
thing.
you are not a small man.
Pretty large
You're
man.
A pretty big presence, and you have quite a bit of style. I would say a flair.
Try to do the flair. It comes down to this. I told you guys this before. I always felt like Charlie Brown growing up. You know, I kind of grew up as the dork, nerd, loser. Didn't get invited to parties. Didn't get invited to stuff. And as I got older and I found the talent, both producing and programming music and just the voice to handle events, that's how I approach it now. I want to reach every single person. I want every person, when they come into an event that I'm doing, I want them to feel like they're specially invited.
Okay.
They're welcome.
Cool.
That's the approach, man.
Rich Linden's with us. Now, Rich, I took a little something off the internet.
Oh, boy.
That you spoke at the Rotary Club of Independence a while back, a few years ago. What was the topic when you go to a Rotary Club? What do you talk about?
Well, at that time, I've created an event in Kansas City coming up in October. It's called Games for Good.
Okay.
So I was talking to Rotary clubs about this event primarily, and we realized people in Kansas City kind of know this, but not entirely, that Kansas City is in the top 10 in the entire United States for cities that give volunteer time and give
really?
money.
Okay.
So I wanted to create an
Wow.
event where we celebrate all the good works. You know, all the nonprofits here, whether it's rescuing animals or protecting, battered spouses.
Sure.
All of these. So, I was talking to the Rotary Club, pumping this up, getting everybody out there. Last year we had, close to 2,000 people show up the Liberty Memorial Park outside the World War I Museum.
Okay.
And we had over 40 nonprofit agencies that came out to represent. So,
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And Independence is good. They throw a great party every year. They have a wine festival. Hard to compete with.
I live in
booze.
Independence. I'm very aware of that. I sure am. Yeah.
You were thrown out of that. or
I think
asked
I
to
was.
leave,
I was
guess.
thrown off the square, I believe. Yes.
Sure. And you know what? It takes a lot to get thrown out of Independence. It does.
What are the rules for being a good MC?
To be a good MC, you gotta find that line. I approach it as a servant. I'm a servant.
Yeah.
I want to be that servant leader for the crowd. Even though I wear flashy clothes, I'm a large man, I've got a deep booming voice. I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about my clients, the people that are the sponsors that have donated money.
Yeah.
But you got to find that balance. There's so many guys that if you tip too far, then you're just cheesy and everybody hates you. And it's all about me, me, me. Then the other side is you're not flared up enough. You got to really pump it, man. That's
That
what people
makes
want.
sense.
And stay humble at the same time. That's the balance.
I mean, you got to keep their attention, and you got to make them like you,
Yeah.
which you do.
Keep their attention.
You are one of the most lovable men in Kansas City.
Sometimes.
I mean, I kind of feel weird saying that, out loud.
I hope so, man.
At least it's
I hope
just
so.
on a.
I hope that people in Kansas City realize how awesome they are. I mean, I'm a product of this city, man, for many, many years. So,
Did you go to high school around here?
yeah, I went to Raymore Peculiar.
Okay, all right.
Panthers. We were kind of country hick back then because I'm old. Now you go out there now and it's all fancy and
Oh, yeah.
you know. I tried to go to a football game a couple of years ago and they wouldn't let me. It was sold out and I'm like, do you know who I am? They didn't care.
Yeah.
No, they didn't care.
Did you play football for Ray?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I was a theater and drama guy.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There
Well,
it
you
is.
went on into college and had formal training in voice.
Yeah, I went to the Conservatory of Music. Got my degree in vocal performance with a dance minor. Did some acting in and around Kansas City.
Bass, baritone, what do you think?
Baritone,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm, okay.
Back then.
What are some
Performed-
of the shows you've been in around Kansas
Oh, I
City
did
in
a
the
bunch of
past?
shows with the Missouri Repertory Theater, which
Okay.
is now, what's it called? The Rep. Kansas City
Yeah,
Repertory
KC
Theater.
Rep, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did some shows with the Lyric Opera.
Okay.
As soon as I graduated, I actually fell into producing for radio, and that was fun.
I was going to ask you about
Back
radio.
in the day.
You've had an interesting little radio, a bunch of stuff that you've done off and on, haven't you? in
Yeah, I still do some voiceover work and produce for different people, but radio was a blast 30 years ago.
Now, when you're talking about producing, like who did you work with or for?
Primarily one of my college roommates.
Mm-hmm.
So he hooked me up. But I did a lot of stuff for Mix 93, did some stuff for, well, I got started at 106.5. It was kicking country
Oh, yeah, yeah.
back then.
I'm guessing you wrote stuff too.
Wrote
You did
material,
developed characters, and
developed characters, wrote the material, went out, man on the street, went out and did some recording
Okay.
for bits and pieces and stunts.
The street guy.
Street guy.
Yeah.
so you're
Cool.
thinking on your feet a lot, and that's what you have to do, I guess, when you're in an MC role too,
Absolutely.
reacting and getting reactions out of people, and
Yeah, got to feel it. You got to tap into the crowd and the athletes to really give it your best. You know, I'm sure there were times when I didn't have it. You dial it in, but I try really hard not to do that for every single person. So, you know, even in basketball tournaments, say there's 4 games back to back. Every single game is different. You have slightly different fans, different teams. The game is different, so you want to keep it fresh always.
Now, have you done stage emceeing for events also, where you're bringing people on and
Yes.
off and that kind of thing?
Yes, we have there's a big choir, big song talent show in Kansas City for high school students, and they have me MC that every
Okay,
year.
yeah.
We did, I was blessed to do, Union Station had their 100-year anniversary a few years
Okay,
ago,
sure,
or 200-year anniversary. I was blessed to be the MC for that.
Cool.
We had 40,000 people down there. And
You know, and what I notice, and I know you've done a lot of this, and I've done a few also, is that you just want to end up not embarrassing yourself, if possible.
try, yes. Yes. Or just realize, hey,
Call the wrong names out,
Call the
do
wrong
something.
names.
Yeah.
I did a show.
there are only 100,000 people watching. It's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Did
it.
a show. I was on a roll. I was rocking it.
Yeah.
Walked off stage, and my handler, and I'm going to blame her, this is her fault,
Okay.
said, your fly's unzipped, man.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yep. Shut it down.
Well, it's an interesting thing you do because there's always something different, and I know your job as the MC is kind of to be the glue for the show also and hold it together a lot of times and things like that. So
Yeah, if you can hold it together, entertain people, but always try to put the focus on whether it's a fundraising gala. Always entertain people, but always try to focus on the client or the athletes, the college kids that are on the court playing.
a lot of hosts and MCs feel they're the star sometime, but the job is to make your clients the stars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand those guys. I've had a few of them work for me. Just doesn't work out, man. You got to come into this as a servant.
Sure. Yeah.
Now you've got. Now tell me about where people can get a little more information on this, learn a little bit more about it. It's very interesting. I mean, you're in a lot of worlds. You're kind of in media, you're in marketing, and then you fill this unusual space that very few people can do, which is this PA, public address, MC. You're a showman. I mean, you
Found a little niche, man.
it sounds like a fascinating one, but where can people go online and look at some of your work?
Yeah, you can Google my name. Although I think if you Google Rich Linden, I think maybe a sex offender comes up in Illinois or something weird like that.
Oh,
but
that one. Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
haven't
Yeah,
been
that
to
guy.
Illinois
Yeah,
for
right.
years.
Read this paper then, okay.
Yeah, that's the wrong
I was
Google
going to ask
search,
you
man.
about that next.
You can go to my website. It's the Linden Events, thelindenevents.com, and just kind of show you a taste of what we do. We've got a staff of young people that work for me.
Cool.
They're amazing. I mean, Lloyd, you're talking about marketing. Marketing has changed crazily. I have a client that wanted me to put together some pieces. They already had the video and still photos, and they wanted me to just put some quick bits together for them for marketing. Well, kind of old, man. I did some 30-second spots and 60-second spots, and they came back like, Rich, these really need to be like 8 to 10 seconds. What? 8 to 10? Because we're putting these on Facebook as ads and some of the game app ads, and trying to wrap your head around that. But I've got great kids. I have great kids that work for me, and they get it. They know it.
Yeah.
So to turn it over to my 20-year-olds and let them knock it out.
That's the way to do it.
I remember how we thought, how in the world are we going to cram this into a 30-second spot?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Are you doing other voiceover work?
I do a little bit of
Commercials and
voiceover work,
things?
mostly, well, it depends on, mostly nonprofits, charities. I've got a little studio at the house, so just set up the microphone and do some voiceover, do the voice of God, call it the voice of God for banquets.
VOG.
So the guy that tells you to sit
Guy
down
in the
now
back
and
of
be
the room.
quiet.
Yes,
Yeah.
the buffet is now open.
Yeah, sit down, shut up. Program's about ready to start, stuff like that. And I do a lot of background voiceover stuff for sporting events. So, and I'm still doing some radio. I still have some characters that are out there. I have 80s guy that I play on one station. I've got the guy who's a sexist, just big time macho sexist guy.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's got to be hard to find all that.
Loy usually covers that on our
Yeah,
program.
he's pretty good.
I'll do
yeah.
that.
You know what? I'm going to send all my hate mail to you. I'm like, that wasn't me, man. That wasn't
Not
me.
getting
That was
enough. I'd love that.
yeah.
I see, when you do go online, there's a picture of you with a really tall guy about to dunk a basketball, and part of him is like almost straddled right onto your head.
Yeah.
Are you actually doing physical stunts at these things, or is that
Try
just
not to.
Yeah,
That was
that looks
that was a
dangerous.
one in a lifetime college basketball championship. You know, is big, and part of it rolls through Kansas City, and they do a slam dunk contest. And I have the contract to run all entertainment for it. So everything from my PA guys, Mike McCartney's a good friend of mine. I have him come and actually PA so I can do other things and be the MC. But yeah, slam dunk contest. This young man who was only 5'10". I'm 6'1". He was only 5'10", and he made it to the finals of the slam dunk. And he just pointed at me, told me to come over here. Not rehearsed, not planned. I didn't know what was happening. So he positioned me under the rim, and
He's literally leaping above your head.
yeah, it didn't even touch my big hair, man.
Imagine
Nothing moved, but
walking up to a 6'1" guy with hair that's another 2 inches
all right.
and leaping over his head.
Yeah, kids do it.
That's youth.
That is youth.
That's youth
But I was
speaking.
scared, man. If you see the
Wasn't my
picture,
youth.
you look at the picture, if you Google it, you look at my face. I was tense, man. I was stressed. I was ready for a hit. And then, the funny part is it made SportsCenter top 10. And my mom saw it, and she called me the next day and told me how irresponsible I am. And, well, I'm in my 50s, but she's still calling to tell me, that's too dangerous. You shouldn't
Stop
be doing
doing
that.
that.
You shouldn't be doing that. I can't believe that.
Moms are like that.
Moms
yeah.
are.
I love it. Rich, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is very interesting to hear the perspective of the voice at these events and these big arenas. And anything else coming up that everybody ought to know about?
I've got a contract at NASCAR races. I run the VIP area, so if you want an enhanced experience, you can come into there. I have drivers. I'll have
Cool.
Jimmy Johnson and some other drivers will be with me. We'll do a sit and chat. We'll do a Q&A, play some games, give away prizes.
So is that for the big money people?
No, well, I mean, kind of
So
big money
just-
people. That's for anybody can get a bump to their tickets, they can just go to the Kansas Speedway website and get the enhanced.
There you go. Well, there's your chance to see Rich Linden in person. That would be an exciting
That's
thing.
right, yeah.
It's something.
See Rich with a bump.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cool. Well, thank you, Rich, and good luck to you.
Thanks, guys.
Cool
Have
deal.
a great week.
You too. Thanks.
Well, you remember we started this show off by talking to Randy Wisthoff, the director of the Kansas City Zoo. Loy and I, after the interview, had a chance to get out in the zoo and experience a couple things. All right, I'm currently on the merry-go-round at the Kansas City Zoo. I have chosen an animal with two horns. I'm not sure what it is, but I understand it goes up and down. Oh, I'm on a bongo. I just read the sign. All right, good. Yes. Hello. Yes. Here. I'm hoping that the merry-go-round stops with the animal in the lower position. Otherwise, it could be dangerous dismounting.
Hey, Dick, look. There's a little machine here that will tell you about the zoo expansion.
All right. And you push a button, and then you just keep cranking that wheel.
Welcome to the shortcut to Africa.
Keep cranking.
Follow the promenade down the hill and you will find the
Come on, you can do it.
Sanctuary and the bridge to Africa. The Africa section of the Kansas City Zoo.
How you doing? You holding
I'm
it up?
wearing down, Dick. I might not make it all the way to Africa.
You gotta crank that, baby.
Oh, I think I'm maybe to Hawaii by now.
Are the lion and cheetah exhibit.
Oh, they got a cheetah exhibit here. I wonder if it's like Touche, Fox and Hounds.
Oh, yes.
Meerkats.
Meerkats. Oh, baboons. I gotta see the baboons back in. I love that.
Keep cranking.
Ah,
You're gonna make it.
it's killing me. Gorillas, no.
All right. You gonna be okay? All right.
Oh, I'm done.
Wow.
I gotta stop there with the gorillas.
That was something. Let's round out our threesome of personalities with Shawn Mullane, co-owner of Exposure Talent Agency.
That looks just like Shawn Mullane from Exposure Models and Talent. Shawn, how are you? Thanks for coming in. We want to talk about all kinds of the exciting things that are going on in Kansas City with you. What is happening?
Actually, Kansas City has an amazing amount of production work, commercials shot, voiceovers done here in the Kansas City area. Considering the size of a city we are, we actually have a lot of work going on.
What's happening now?
Well, you know, the big thing is that Sprint, of course, that is based here in Overland Park, Kansas, is doing probably, I'd say, at least 90% of their production work out of their Yellowfan studios at Sprint.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they're shooting all of their commercials here.
Cool.
Or most of them. Once in a while they shoot one elsewhere, but most of them are being shot here. All the commercials with Paul. We just shot a commercial with Paul, a 2-day shoot last week, all local talent that was in
He's
it.
the former Can You Hear Me guy.
Yeah, that's now he's
that-
this Paul the Sprint
Yeah,
guy.
he's great.
Hey, I'm Paul, and I used to ask if you could hear me now with Verizon. Not anymore. I'm with Sprint now.
Give me a little background on Exposure.
Well, Exposure opened in 1995 when my business partner, Jennifer Mengen, started it herself. I joined Exposure in 1996, and now she and I are partners in the business and own it together.
What's the life like for an agent?
Well, you know, the thing about what we do is that no 2 days are ever the same. You know, the next commercial comes up and they want something totally different than the last one wanted. They want a voiceover guy with an English accent, or we just did one where we went through a whole slew of everybody wanted either an English accent or an Australian accent for some reason, or maybe it's a regular announcer guy, or maybe they need whatever. It's just every single thing that comes in is going to be entirely different and a whole new project every time.
When you get an opportunity for someone to audition for things, how many auditions will you receive from your people? You send it out. How many talents send you back?
You know,
there?
again, it just kind of depends on what they're looking for. If it is something real specific, we might only have 4 or 5 people that actually audition. If it's something more, again, it's the announcer or the guy next door or whatever. It might be more like, 10 or 15 people we have audition for
Okay.
it. So
If they asked for like a Loy Edge type, how many would you bring in?
just one.
That's what I really care about.
That's right.
So how many people, do you have a regular stable of performers then for both on camera and voiceover that are your talent that's signed on with your agency? Or
Well, we actually, we have to maintain a fairly large size agency to be able to fill all the needs
Sure.
that come in.
Yeah.
When Sprint calls us and they need 30 extras, we have to have enough people to do 30 extras. We also have to have enough talent to be able to fill the principal role that they're looking for too. So it's, we have a pretty good size agency, but we also have, most of our people are working all the time. So
How's the workload been? You've been to exposures for how many years?
since 1996, how many years is
Okay,
that?
Man, that's a lot of
math. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
math. Okay, then we get it. Have things changed in your business over those years?
Well, the biggest change has to be, when I started in this business, however many, almost 30 years ago that was, everything with first off, the print in Kansas City was a lot larger part of the industry than it is now. Back then we did, weekly print ads for the Jones store,
and Macy's was doing their stuff.
and Yonkers did their stuff here, and so there were weekly jobs for print models, and that has
and
that isn't the case.
photographers
and
all that's
photographers,
gone.
yeah.
Yeah, that sailed away.
So that has changed, and then from the broadcast side of thing, basically there was commercial work or non-broadcast work, which was training videos and things like that. Well, that has all changed. Now we have social media and digital and internet, and all of that coming into play has actually generated a lot more work, particularly for the actors.
So is
and
it
for
more?
and for the models.
Is it more lower pay work, or has it still? Are they still good?
Yeah, no, it's
good
still
gigs?
it's still good gigs. It is
Because
still
I think
good gigs.
everybody has that perception that the old days, people were getting jobs that were on the mass media platforms and were getting big paychecks, and now it seems like, there are so many more productions, but they're just on the internet. But so you say you think that the workload is kind of keeping up?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, and again, all this new media has actually created more jobs. I mean, we do shoot things that are, will never be on the air, that'll only ever be on the internet or on a website or on a,
Well, one thing that's changed is the way that people audition for things also. Back when you started, they probably had to come by your office
Yep,
maybe and get
yep.
in a booth and record, and everybody does it at home in the bathroom.
Yes, that is also
Yes.
very true.
But you still have on-camera auditions. Do you do those
Yeah,
in your office?
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And
Most
you're in
of the
Overland Park,
on-camera
right?
stuff, yes, we're in Overland Park. Most of the on-camera stuff still as an actual audition process where you go to the casting director or you come in to exposure and we record an audition. Although occasionally we do have things that, come down very last minute and the client will say, have them, record something with their phone, self-tape if
Sure,
if they need to, because we don't have time to do anything else. So
You got my last one with me in the bathroom with my shirt off. I was flexing.
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Got that one.
Did he get the job, though? That's what I want to know. We need someone who flexes like Loy Edge.
I hate that. So tell me about modeling and what's going on with that. What kind of work
Well,
does that
the
entail?
Kansas City for print work now is a very commercial print market as opposed to fashion. Again, we're not doing Jones store ads anymore. It's more, the family in the shot for the hospital, or it's things like that. So commercial print. There are still a few big runway shows that happen in Kansas City, and so some of our models get out and do the runway thing, 3 or 4 times a year. But again, it's just not as much fashion modeling as it is.
There will always be work for a good-looking group of ladies or guys at the slot machine at the
Exactly,
boats,
exactly.
who look nothing like the people that are there.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's right. Everybody, you notice 2 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody at a slot machine looks kind of like Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Just like that.
They're they at least know them. Wow.
Well, Shawn, where do you see things going in Kansas City? So you've got all this stuff happening. Can you see any, talking to people out there who maybe are interested in kind of getting into the talent world, maybe they're young folks that are looking at this, or are there opportunities for people who are middle-aged or older in this modeling or voiceover? Are there training ways that they can get involved in the industry, or is it just kind of one of those things that you have to get your chops before you can get representation? You've got to get out there and actually be somebody in that field before you can get an agent. How does that work?
Well, we represent talent who, have huge, long resumes, been working, in the Kansas City market. They've been doing theater, they've been doing commercial work, they've, been doing all of it, so we have, many, many talent that we represent that are seasoned, pros. And then we have, kids that just graduated from KU and, have an acting degree and, are looking to do work. So we have the whole, range of people, because again, for, every principal role there's got to be, those 3 or 4 people milling around in the background, which is a good way to learn about the industry if you're new at that kind of thing. Yeah. So we represent, 3-year-olds, we represent 80-year-olds and everything in between, because as I always say, we don't create the jobs, we just fill them. So if that fella out there in advertising land decides he wants, a 80-year-old lady for the next thing he's doing, then we've got to have 80-year-old ladies to cast for it. So
I bet you got some great ones.
Yes,
of those.
we do.
And how about the stage moms for the 3-year-olds? Have you been able to keep that in check?
Yeah, for the most part.
That's got to be hard.
It is.
Let's say you're a mom out there with a 3-year-old. What do they need to present to you to get their child?
The biggest thing with kids, because again, nobody expects a 3-year-old to, have a Shakespearean resume. The thing with kids is that they have to be outgoing. They can't be afraid of strangers. They can't be clinging to mother.
Yeah.
And it has to be the kid wants to do it, not the mom wants the kid to do it.
Good point.
That's the biggest thing is that they have to have some desire. Now a 3-year-old can't really totally make up their mind perhaps, but a 5 or a 6-year-old even that says, every time they see something come on TV, I want to be on TV, then they're that kid that's going to do well, not the one whose mother says, people stop me all the time and tell me how cute my kid is and that she should be on TV.
There you go. Yes. Yeah.
So
talk to me about some of the people and successes you've had in putting people into television shows or movies or things like that.
Well, we've certainly had, plenty of people in all the movies that have been shot here locally. And again, I've been doing this a long time. I had people in Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. And
that was great.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was such a wonderful film.
It was wonderful.
Had people in Article 99 and that whole slew of made-for-TV movies that were here. All that was in the 90s. And
is Mr. and Mrs. Bridge the biggest production ever done here, do you think, as far as celebrity
Mr. and Mrs. Bridge
production?
was, probably. Again, Article 99 was a pretty big one. Ride with the Devil was a very big, although it was shot not right in Kansas City.
Jewel?
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't shot right in Kansas City, but it was shot, in the area. So that was a pretty big production. So
it was pretty cool seeing Paul Newman walking around down in Westport.
Yeah.
And Joanne Woodward.
Yeah.
I was sitting at Californo's and they
wandered
by. Yeah. That was a fun time having that production here. So you were giving them their extras, and they were probably used some local principals.
Yeah, some principal roles too.
Are some of these people that you've worked with in Kansas City now working in Hollywood or
well,
places
that's
like
the thing that we I was going to say fight. Fight is not the right word, but that we deal with, that we have happened quite a bit. You know, that we get really, really good actors here who do a lot of really great work for us, and then they move to LA or they move to New York, or sometimes they just move to Chicago. But you know.
Yeah, you're you know, it's the old. We were the farm team for the Yankees, you know. Back when it was the
exactly,
Kansas City A's.
exactly.
As soon as they start hitting for average, they're gone.
Well, Lloyd, do you think we should have Shawn do our contest here?
Germany or Florida, Germany or Florida, Germany or Florida. Things are so effed up there.
All right, Dick, if you'll read the official Mayhem for this podcast's Germany or Florida, from whence all good mayhem comes.
All right, here we go, Shawn. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
A woman woke up at 4:30 a.m. To a naked man breaking into her home. The 40-year-old was under the influence of drugs or alcohol when he attacked the woman and two others inside while in the buff. According to the report, the victims defended themselves before pinning down the man, but not before he left a bite mark on the woman, according to a report. Deputies arrived and took the man to an area hospital where he died. Officials did not say what killed him, but a spokesperson said Friday the medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. No charges have been filed. The type of homicide, such as accidental, justified, or criminal, is still investigations in discussion with the officials. The victim was not named, and victims were not named. An autopsy report was not available to the public because it is still an open investigation. Shawn, your question, did this bizarre mayhem happen in Germany or Florida?
I will take a wild guess that it happened in Germany.
I'm so sorry, Shawn. You don't win whatever it was that is under Dick's chair.
That was Florida that happened. All right, but thanks for playing along.
And thank you so much for joining us, Shawn Mullane from Exposure Models and Talent. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for all your great information.
Appreciate it.
Have fun.
All
Good
right.
luck in the future.
Thanks.
All right, thanks to all three of our great personalities from the Kansas City area that joined us on this edition of Dick and Loy's Media and Marketing Mayhem.
You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.